like him as much as I thought. But as you mentioned, AJ Styles now is someone on the microphone that you like to hear. So maybe Jungle Boy can get
Remember,
to it.
remember when they were having AJ Styles when we didn't quite know if he was fucking Dixie Carter. Remember that storyline? That was pre him figuring out how to talk too, which just made it even
No,
worse.
that was the worst. The worst. But you know what wasn't the worst?
Hmm.
This next segment. We get Jon Moxley in the ring.
Yes.
And this was the only criticism I'll say before we get into the details of it is the tone and the message would have been better backstage. I understand the live crowd wants to see the champion, Jon Moxley. The entrance is still getting over. People love it. They go crazy, especially if he walks by you. It's something to see. But what he said here and how he delivered it didn't feel like I should be in the ring. It was more menacing. It was more Jake the Snake draw you in. And that just the contrast of the fans wanting to cheer, but then kind of being quiet just didn't fit for me. But what he says here, and again, paraphrasing, is, hey, Regal, remember when we met and I thought I needed to be the fucking man? So I was going to kick your ass. And what'd you do? You kicked my ass. So I found out where I was. Who does that remind you of? And Regal's like, MJF. And then and then Jon Moxley's like, hey, I beat this guy before. What do you think is going to be different the second time around? Then he gets into, you got clothes that your parents bought from JCPenney or whatever, which was a fun line, But then he goes, you call yourself the devil. And this is when the promo took a different turn. And he gets a little quiet and he stares right into the camera and he's like, I've seen the devil. And if you paid attention in the last year with his struggles with addiction, he ain't lying. Mm-hmm. There's no lies here.
And so everything prior in his life.
That's what I'm saying. And so he's getting into this. I've seen the devil. I've walked with the devil. I've talked with the devil. And you ain't it. That's when, because this is great. And I think if we're all polling people and you're saying, hey, who MJF and Moxley, what do we like about it? Moxley, just like with the CM Punk storyline that he did just a couple months ago, he finds that angle where it's like, oh, fuck, Jon goddamn Moxley. Because when he takes that angle of like, call yourself the devil, I'm a man. Mm-hmm. Then you kind of look at MJF and like, he's a bitch.
Yeah.
I
do. However, so my criticism of this, and it's one that I think I've noticed about Moxley's promos without saying, is sometimes they'll run a little long. He takes a while to get to the point, and this kind of felt like two promos, like you said. The earlier one of like, remember when I was a fucking punk and thought I kicked everybody's ass and you had to beat my ass? And that reminds us of MJF. That's one promo. Mm-hmm. Then he got into a second promo of like, you think you're the devil? Like, all that says is you've never fucking met him. You know what I mean? Like, because I've seen him, right? Like, you don't even know where he lives, boy, but I can fucking drive you there with blindfolded, right? Like, that kind of shit is the one that makes you go like, oh, what's he saying now? So I kind of, if there was, from what I would like to see is maybe speed that up, get there quicker, like you said, and we don't have to spend this whole time in the ring. We don't have to have William Regal standing there smiling randomly without saying anything, right? Mm-hmm. Like, just, I would have got there quicker. But again, the substance of them was great.
Yeah, I think when Moxley cuts promos like this, it goes back to during the pandemic. Remember his program with Lance Archer? And he was talking in the bar and he's like, I know one of these days someone's going to take me out. And that was long-winded, but it was structured. And then there was enough moving eye candy to keep you engaged. This promo with those bells and whistles, I think would have been the best thing of the night because the substance of what he said was all there. As we mentioned, the first part, and you remind me of me. Second part, but you're a bitch. And you better bring your guts because I'm going to kick them out of you. I like it. It was great. Again, it was if we're grading it, I give it an 8.9 out of 10 just because of the other circumstances around it. And